that's where I learnt most of my skills, is through my parents. Sewing. They were both arty, my grandmother and my mother. So that sort of comes through too, because I like painting and doing artistic things and creating things. I learnt hard work from my father, the Croatian side of the family. And hard work is, I think, what has pulled me through a lot of my life, and especially the downers that I've had, because I revert to doing something really hard when I'm down, and when I'm not feeling myself, I put everything into doing something hard, going out and chopping wood. I remember when a friend's father died, and I was so upset over that I went home and I just washed all the walls in the house and things like that. And hard work, I learnt through my father, as I said, but it is what's pulled me through a lot of things. I was married, I got married very, very young. I was, I think it was too young. I was 18 when I got married, and we were going out for 5 years before we married, and then when we married we had 5 children, and I had 3 sons and 2 daughters from my first marriage. We stayed married, and I was a member in the church then when we got married. I joined the church when I was 14 years old. My mother was very sick with TB, and while she was at home from hospital, and one of her times home, the missionaries came and left the Book of Mormon, and she read that in hospital, and then when she came out of hospital she asked for the missionaries to teach her, and she joined the church. And I used to sit outside the window and listen, and a month after Mum joined the church I told her I wanted to join too, and she said, "Well, you don't know anything." I said, "Oh yes Mum, I do. I know that's where I'm meant to be." And so I was baptised, and as I said, we lived together for 17 years, and then things happened and we broke up. And I was in a relationship with somebody else for 6 or 7 years, and we had a son. And we weren't married, but we had a son, and I had gone out of the church at that stage. I was less active, and things started to happen between us, and I just was confused and didn't know where my life was going, and things were happening that were contrary to church teachings, and I did not feel myself. I didn't feel that I belonged anywhere, that I belonged with anybody. And then our relationship broke up, and I met my now husband, who was not a member of the church. He lived next door to us, and there was just something between us that just seemed to be just click. The only person that I could depend on was Heavenly Father. And I went to him then, even though I was less active in the church at that stage. I still never gave up on knowing that the church was true. I just had other things to do in my life at that stage. And I just never gave up on him. Well, Heavenly Father never gave up on me. I think that was more the other way round, until I came to realise that, hey, there is a big thing missing in my life and I need to go back. So I went back to church. But around about the same time that I went back to church, my husband had a breakdown, and we had been married for 8 years, and I didn't know much about his past. And then I learnt it all then, that he had some horrific things happen to him when he was young, from the time he was about 15 years old. And he was involved with drugs, and I knew he'd been involved with drugs, but he was no longer. But there were other things and that I didn't know about, and then there were things happening within his own family around about the time that he had his breakdown, and he just couldn't handle it anymore, and he was suffering very deep depression and anxiety. Just still knew that we had to be together. There was just something that was just tying us together, and I knew that he was the one that was a challenge, and he still is a challenge. But I think Heavenly Father has given him to me for this challenge and to make me grow and to help me grow in directions that I hadn't been in before. I love him to bits, and he has joined the church about 2 years ago now. He decided to join the church. He had the missionaries teach him, and he joined the church. But he still has issues. He still has some issues. And I'm trying to help him through those. But my own personal strength comes from Heavenly Father. Comes from me knowing that I have somebody to turn to. And there's been times when it's been really, really tough. And I've never let my husband see me cry. I go out the back and I'll pump something when I'm angry, or I'll cry, and then I'll get down on my knees and I'll plead to Heavenly Father to forgive me for the things that I have done wrong, and to forgive me for losing my temper, and to forgive me for being weak sometimes, because one woman tried to be strong, and my strength comes in being creative and working. And then other people I knew and everything would say, why do you stick with them? It's, you deserve better, and things like this. But I don't know whether people don't understand or whether people just don't see what you see in somebody. And when you love somebody, and when Heavenly Father has brought you together, then you are there together to work things out and to work things through. And my strength comes from my Heavenly Father to keep myself going. Because I think sometimes things can become a habit with people, and even though they might not be able to explain how they feel or anything like that, but sometimes it is a habit and everything, and if you can break that habit and get them out of it and everything, then that helps. But I've been through a lot of things with him on my own, because I just felt that sometimes when I've turned to other people and everything, they've been contradictory, and I went to Heavenly Father one night, and I was just so tensed up and upset about things not going right for him, not for me, but for him. And I needed help, and I needed somebody, I needed him to tell me what I needed to do to help him, because nobody else seemed to be helping him. At that stage, the medication wasn't helping him. He was up and down like this, like a yo-yo, and all sorts of things. And so I needed something to distract him, I felt. And well, that's the word that came to me, distract and everything. So that's when I bought the camera. And he's upgraded to a bigger one and a bigger lens, and he's been doing some fantastic stuff. And he bought himself a laptop, and he fixes all his photos up and everything on the laptop and everything. And I think he would eventually like to go into photography and do a bit more photography. But now I think he's slowly building up again. But it has been tough, and it's been really, really hard. And because when somebody's going through depression, they don't always see what they're doing, you know, and they don't always understand themselves what's happening to them. A lot of it, I think, too, is to bite your own tongue. As I say, don't say anything, even though you might feel that you want to say something. Don't say it until you know the moment is right. If he's going through a really tough time and everything, and you want to really growl at him or you want to be upset at him, don't do it right then. Wait and take him aside later when he's in a better frame of mind, or spring it on him when later on, in a nice way, there you can discuss it and you know that he'll be able to discuss things with you. I haven't really had a true friend except one lady who still is a true friend to me, and I can go to her with anything and everything, and she really helps me. But apart from that, I think depending on the Lord for most things, and for the help that I need, and for the, especially when I get down, because I try to stay strong, but we're all human. And we do have our weak moments. And I think if we just know that we can have our Heavenly Father we can turn to, then He helps to pull us through.